All right. Hi. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Today and for this whole week, we are having a special course called The Whole Purpose of Life. It's important. The whole purpose of life. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Let me ask you a question. If you were going to buy a car, what would you do before you bought your car? If you were going to buy a car, what would you do? Research it a lot. You do a lot of research. You'd ask people, you'd try out cars, you'd go on websites, you'd work out what your budget is. You'd do there'd be a lot of effort that you put into working out which is the correct car to buy. What about if you had a business and you had a new employer or a new business partner? What would you do before you employed someone? Background check. You'd work it out. You'd ask them, like, who are you? Find out about them, get references, see what other jobs they've had. You do lots and lots and lots of research. It's an important thing. What about if you were going on holiday? You wanted to go on vacation. Before you went, what would you do? You'd probably do... Pardon? You do some research, you'd get the Lonely Planet travel guide and you'd find out what are the best hotels, ask people at hotels where to buy the food you want, what things are there to do in the area. You really work it out before you've made your decision what you're going to do. All of these things, thank you so much. All of these things, when you're investing in something, you spend a little time researching it before you do it. It seems that the most crucial, important thing in your life, which is your life, most people don't do any research, they don't spend the time working out, is what I'm investing my time and my money and my effort in really what I'm meant to be investing my time, money and effort in? It's an amazing thing. I did philosophy at university, and I did two experiments. The first one, many people here know, is the how are you experiment. So I'd say to people, how are you? And I'd note down their answers. And the general answer to the question, how are you, is not too bad, can't complain, getting by, hanging in there, could be worse. So I was like, wow, this is a tragedy. It's a tragedy. No one's living a happy, beautiful, meaningful, deep, well thought out, meaningful, happy, fulfilling, amazing, beautiful, wonderful life. And my other experiment, I would only ask people 70 years and older. I'd ask them, what do you believe? What are we doing here? And the answers were generally people just don't know. Very lovely people, but they're just getting on with it, It's not like they've sat down and said, am I investing my time, money and effort into what I'm meant to be investing it into? Or I'm just going along and doing it. So I decided at that point, I was 21 years old, I decided I'm going to work out, and this is a crazy idea, I'm going to work out what life's actually about. What am I meant to be doing with it? Am I making sure that I'm doing the right thing? Am I meant to be investing all my time, money, emotional energy into getting a job that I don't really like and supporting my football team, who aren't very good? So I was like, no, come on, there's got to be more than that. What am I actually doing? So what people who know me, I finished my philosophy degree somehow. I left, I went and traveled around Asia for 6 years. I lived in Sri Lanka for 4 months, and in Thailand for 1.5 years, and in a small island off the coast of Korea for 1.5 years, and in India for 1 year, and Nepal, and Laos, and China for a bit, and then I lived in Japan for 1.5 years. And I was doing all sorts of meditation retreats and martial arts training and yoga training and teaching English and volunteering in orphanages. And then I decided I've got to work out, I've got to see more of the world. What is everyone doing? I just spent my time researching and praying and experiencing and learning. And then going to go to South America. I want to canoe down the Amazon, longest river in the world. Spend a year canoeing down the Amazon and find out what they're doing. And I stopped in Israel at the end of 2006, and that's as far as I got. Over here, I started learning about Judaism, realized that the reason I wasn't very connected to my Jewish roots is basically because I had a very shallow view of what Judaism teaches. In this course, we're going to look into depth into the philosophical and Kabbalistic Jewish philosophy on life. What are we actually doing here? And so I ended up staying here and learning in Aish. I walked the length of Israel from the Lebanese border to Eilat in 40 days. It's 1,100 kilometers. And I decided to settle in here, and that's my story. So now what we're going to do in this week is, let's work out what on earth we're meant to be doing, because we've all got, let's say we got till 100. 120 we like to say. The Vilna Gaon was quite into just saying up to 100. Based on Pirkei Avot, says after 100, you don't want to live more than 100 really. So let's say you've got 100 years to live. What are you meant to be doing in the 100 years? What? How are you going to know? Here we go. Living a well thought out life. I came up with the 4 questions. These are not the 4 questions we ask on Pesach, but I'm sure we could fit them in somehow. The first question is, what do you believe? What do you believe? What do you actually believe? Many people haven't thought about this question. You go and ask people, it's very interesting. Go and ask someone and say, do you believe you have a soul? Many people will be like, yeah, I don't know, maybe, could do, might not. It doesn't matter, I'm just getting by, I'm getting on with it. So many people already fall at the first hurdle. They're not even really sure what they believe. But many people do know what they believe, and they say, yes, I do have a soul, for example. Question number 2. Why do you believe that? Why do you believe what you believe? So for many people, you believe what you believe because your parents told you that. You grew up in a house that they believed that. Your society told you that. It feels nice. You hope it's true. Makes some logical sense. You came to the realization in deep meditation. One of these. So you gotta, why do you actually believe it? And by the way, about 98% of people just become a product of their society. I made up that statistic, but it has to be something very large like that. Most people just believe what they believe because that's what they were taught, that's what the education system said. So if you were born in India, small village in India, you would believe in many gods. And you would drive a tuk-tuk. You guys know what a tuk-tuk is? Yep. And you'd eat rice, and you'd have those cultural beliefs. And in some of these places they still do it. They have cremation is the way they bury people, and the wife is expected to throw herself on the fire whilst her husband's being cremated.
What?
Yeah, they've tried to outlaw it, but it still happens in many places.
Where?
In places in India. So if you were brought up with that, what do you mean what? Of course you... What, you mean your wife wouldn't? What? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with you? So most people, if you were born in China, you would be a communist driving a tuk-tuk, eating rice as well. But if you were born in Mea Sharim, just over there, you'd probably have long pale and 25 children and whatever. Most people just end up becoming a product of their society now, without ever really stopping and saying, why do I believe what I believe? Why do I believe what I believe? We want to ask ourselves, if you want to live a well thought out life, work out, what is it that I believe? Why do I believe what I believe? I put this one, really, I slipped this in this morning. It used to be the 3 questions until this morning. Are you living according to your beliefs? This is a very important one. So if you say to someone who smokes, do you believe that smoking is bad for you? And they'll say yes. Okay, well, it's good that you have your beliefs, but are you actually living according to your beliefs? Are you living according to your values, what you know is right? So I often ask groups, not you guys, because I know you're high conscious people. I say to people, what do you value more? Social media or your health? So everyone says my health. So I say, okay, so what do you spend more time on? Social media or your health? So it's okay, so you don't go to the gym, you don't eat what's healthy for you, you spend 3 to 4 hours a day on WhatsApp and LinkedIn and Facebook. So you're just not living according to what you believe. This should maybe be a 2B. But I put it in there anyway. So are you living according to your beliefs? And the fourth one is, so how do you know you're right? How do you know you're right?
Why does that matter?
Ah, good. So we're going to talk about that as well. Why does it matter? Does it matter at all? Who cares? Do you have to be right? Do you have to know what you believe? And we'll see if it matters and who thinks it matters. Fine. Good question though. Why does it matter? I went back to England to visit my parents, and on Shabbat, usually my two best friends from when I was growing up, they come for Shabbat and they hang out with me. And they're on their phones, and Baruch Hashem, we're brothers and we have been friends since we were 3 years old, and we don't judge each other at all. So I'm sitting there keeping Shabbos, they're sitting there on their phones, and one of them turned to me and said, "Don't you think you're a bit crazy?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do." "Don't you think you're a bit crazy? Haven't you taken it a bit too far?" You know, and they're used to me my whole travels through Asia. Both of them came to visit me in Thailand and Japan. Haven't you gone a bit too far, you know? You're just like that, you're not doing anything on Shabbos, not using your phone. It's okay, so you could be like, you know, get into Judaism a bit, but to go so far and do that, it's a bit extreme. Don't you think you're crazy? So I said, the reason I'm not using my phone today, why I'm not using my phone really, I've come to this decision based on 17 years. I did a philosophy degree, I traveled the world, I experienced different cultures, I researched things, I did logical questioning, I did meditation, prayer, other experiences, and through a 17-year process of research and experience, I've now come to the decision not to use my phone on Shabbat. You are using your phone on Shabbat based on just because why not? Just because you feel it's okay? Who's crazy here? I'm living my life based on, and I believe what I believe, and I do what I do based on a 17-year fully immersive process of working out what I'm doing. And you're living your life based on really nothing. Just what your society says is okay, or what you think feels nice to you. So he left then. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvaro. Hashem. Yeah.
Does that mean people should research other religions also, or could they focus on why? If they're in a religion, focus on their religion's understanding?
Yes, you should definitely focus on your religious understanding, but then ask yourself, why do I believe that this is true? It's the 4 questions. What do you believe? Okay, so I'm a Muslim. I believe all these things. You've got to ask yourself in the next question, why do I believe that? Because my mum told me, my dad told me, because I have to, because whatever it is. Then you say, are you living? Yes. But you, at some point you have to say, how do you know you're right? How do I know that this is true? What's it based on? How do I know that this is true? So someone gave me it's a bit of a disturbing but poignant example the other day. Let's say you've got an 8-year-old suicide bomber from Gaza. Comes in, 8 years old, he wants to stab people and stuff. Can you blame him? Can you blame an 8-year-old? Not really. He's totally brainwashed. He thinks this is the best thing to do. How about a 12-year-old? 18-year-old? 20-year-old? So fine. Wherever you're going to draw the line, there's going to have to come a point where you say, this guy is responsible for what he did. This guy's responsible. An 8-year-old, everyone say he's not. A 30-year-old, everyone say he is. So I don't know where you draw that line. It doesn't matter, but you have to.
He was raised this way. Why would you say he changed?
At some point, everyone has the responsibility to stop and say, why do I believe what I believe? Am I doing the right thing with
They
that?
have that responsibility, but that doesn't mean you see like people in the world. Most people do not think they don't change.
But no, that's the problem. So that should come to my 4-part. What on earth are you doing with your life, and how do you know you're right? Which is today, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 o'clock. Here we go. The game of life, kids. This is what we're playing. We're playing the game of life. Who's in? Who's playing the game of life? You playing the game? Who's playing the game? You're playing the game? I'll tell you what the game is. Number one, there's a time limit. Every game, every sport, I play lots of sport, rugby, football, tennis, table tennis. You've got a time limit. However long that is. You have got, basically, if you're lucky, 100 years. That is the length of the game you are playing, my friends. Then there's a goal. What are you meant to be doing in the game? In football, you have to kick the ball into the net. In table tennis, you have to get the ball over the net. In chess, you have to make it so that their king can't move. In business, you have to get the most clients to do that. Everything, there's a point. There's a point. What are you going towards? What are you fighting for? What are you passionate about? What are you working towards in your life? And you've got to ask yourself, am I doing the things that I need to do to reach the goal? Do you even know what the goal is? If you ask most groups, what is actually the purpose of life? People hate that question. You're right, I'm just doing alright. I just tried to get a job. I mean, the purpose of life. When I lived in my small village in Laos, no electricity, no running water, no education, nothing. I walked 20 kilometers up into a little village in the mountains. They had just a river, no running water, they had a brown river. And the river, they went to the bathroom in it, washed in it, cooked with it, drank from it. That was their only water. And they'd never seen a white person before. When I walked in the village, they all freaked out. All the kids thought I had a disease. And after living in their village, drinking their water, I did have a disease. And the whole village came out that night and they gathered around me and they were like, "White man, we have questions." I speak Laos because it's very similar to Thai. So I speak fluent Thai and Laos are very similar. By the time I got to the village, I'd done the switch. So they were asking me questions. They were like, "White man, do you have rivers in your country?" And I was like, "Yes, big rivers!" And they're like, "Oh." And then basically I noticed that their life was farming and collecting wood and water to cook the food that they farmed. Their whole 90% of their waking hours was just working so they could make enough food to be alive. And then when they had free time, they'd drink local rice alcohol through bamboo straws. It was not so nice. And they'd just sit around kind of talking, telling stories about the old days. And nothing, no education, no health care, nothing. They almost never left the village. And I started wondering, what have they ever really thought about what's the purpose of life, or they're just keeping themselves alive? Just keeping themselves alive. Same when I lived in India for a year. I used to walk around. Have you seen that program called Kung Fu? There's this guy, this Kung Fu master, he goes around walking around just like helping people and then moving on. So I thought I was like that. So I saw this really old woman, she must have been about 80, sitting in the heat, smashing rocks on the side of the road. Smashing rocks. So I was like, I got up there, I did like 2 and I heard my North London Jewish middle class hands. I was like, okay, I helped you. Anyway, I sat, watched her smashing her rocks for a bit. And I was like, why is she doing this? Because she needs money. Why does she need money? Because she needs food. Why does she need food? Because she needs to be alive. Why does she need to be alive? To smash rocks. Like, wow, that's I never really thought about what it is to be alive. And at night she goes home and tells stories, drink alcohol. Then I thought about my friends back in England. LinkedIn says that 84% of people hate their jobs. So I was like, wow, the life that I was going to get into as well. You get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, go to a job that you don't particularly like, so you can make enough money to go and get drunk at night and tell stories. I was like, wow, no difference. But the difference is you got better entertainment and better comfort. It's a better quality of life, but so too they haven't really thought, what's the point? Why am I investing all my time and effort into getting a flat screen TV and this car? Is that what I'm meant to be investing my time and effort in? Into my golf swing. Wow, I'm just going to practice my golf swing every day. Wow. So you end up life and you've got the best golf swing. It's like, it's fine, by the way. So I think sport's very valuable. Get outside, whatever, but is that what you're investing everything in? There's got to be something else. What's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? Then, what are the rules? What are the rules of the game? And the techniques, the methods, the tactics. How are you going to get to the purpose? How are you going to succeed? And next is the result, the reward. So you win the FA Cup, each player in the team gets however many thousands of pounds. You all are playing a game, my friends. Do you know what the goal is of the game? If I go up to heaven and Hashem says to me, Dovber, you are actually quite a nice guy, and you worked on your character traits and you're lovely, but really you were meant to be worshipping Jesus. That was the point. I created you to worship Jesus. I go, oh no. Hashem will be like, it's okay, like, try again. But you've got to work out, what am I doing for? Have I got the right goal? What am I doing? And are you passionate about it? Are you You ask most people, what are you passionate about? Most people don't know. What are you passionate about? What are you living for? What are you fighting for? What do you get out of bed for? What do you go to sleep thinking about? What do you go to bed sleep thinking about? You can't. Who here goes to bed thinking, I cannot wait to get up in the morning? I just can't wait for my alarm to go up. When you're in Jerusalem, let's see what happens in Phoenix, my friend. There you go, the game. I had fun making this video. The game of life. So, just based on my research and everything, I thought this might be interesting. It's interesting to me, so just bear with me. I worked out that everyone is playing the game of life. But it's just different how they're related to it. You have these people. There are some people who believe that there is an objective and intrinsic purpose to life. There is actually something that you were created and born to do. These people are called religion people. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Orthodox Hindu schools. I put Hindu in inverted commas because there's nothing called Hindu. It's a Western term for kind of all Indian philosophies. Those guys will call them Hindu. But really, there's so many different schools. But there are this group of people on the earth who believe that there is a conscious creator, and he created the universe with a purpose in mind, and he gave us a book to let us know what that purpose is. Okay? So we know the goal of the game. And we believe there is an actual goal. Not only is there creation, it's not a random creation, and we've got to make the most of it. We say the creation itself was created with a purpose in mind, and I've got to work out what that purpose is and do it. And basically, thank God, God gave us a book to let us know. The problem is, which is the right book? Because they've all got their own books. So you've got to work out. We're going to get to how do you know your book is the right book? And this is the answer to your question. It's very important to know this and follow it. Why? Because it has eternal consequences. The reward or the not reward is very serious.
Only if you believe it.
No. We're going to talk about objective truth. We're going to talk about objective truth, which means it doesn't depend on what you believe. So if Judaism teaches that after you die, you either spend eternity in bliss or eternity burning in hell, which it doesn't believe that. So it doesn't matter whether you believe that or not. And you could go through your whole life and say, I don't believe it, and then you'll die, and you not believing it is not going to stop you going to hell. But we're going to get there. There's something called objective truth, which we're going to talk about today. Very important to understand that. So the answer to your question is, it's the most important thing you can possibly do, because otherwise you've missed the whole purpose of your creation. But many people say, no, it doesn't matter, I'll just be a nice person. Might not be enough. So then you've got these guys. Buddhism, Taoism, other things that say there's not a creator necessarily, but I know that there is an intrinsic objective truth, because through meditation and spiritual insight I came to the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And I could give a class on Buddhism. I used to teach Buddhism in a Thai university. I still know all the Buddhist chants and mantras and Buddhist chakras and mincha and Marriott. So if anyone wants to know that, ask someone else. But I do know it. So these guys also agree there is something you're meant to be doing, but it hasn't been given to us by the external creator. I'm going to change the letters. But there is something you're meant to be doing. And for these guys too, it's pretty important, because it does have consequences. There's going to be rebirth, and there's going to be enlightenment, and there's a reason. There's a consequence to our actions. So that's part of the world's population. Then you have the other part of the world's population who says there is a subjective purpose. There is no creator. An atheist would say there's no creator, or some people say there's a creator but without a specific purpose. That's called deism. We'll get to that soon. But I use the word purpose very lightly here, because an atheist doesn't talk about purpose. Because if there is no purposeful creator, then there is no purpose. So an atheist would talk about objectively good values. I don't know where he'd get the objective from, because they're not objective. But they'd say there's definitely what we're meant to be trying to achieve, but they don't call it a purpose. In fact, I'm going to change this PowerPoint, and I'm not going to put purpose. Because it could only have a purpose if it was created with a purpose in mind. You can definitely create a meaningful life, cure cancer, set up orphanages, whatever, but for these people you're just going to die and then it's finished. So atheism, deism is the belief that of course there's a God, it can't have been random, but then he kind of stepped back and says you guys do whatever you like. Well, deism, apparently Einstein was a deist, and he was quite clever. Not clever enough, apparently. So how do these people get to their conclusions? They use logic, reasoning, experience, feelings, look at the human condition and come up with the best way of living. This is a bit difficult because it's relative. So you've got some guys pro-abortion, some guys anti-abortion. Who's right? These guys are always going to fall at question number 4, how do you know you're right? Because there is no external objective measure, judge. So, Republican or Democrat, communist, capitalist. So each philosophy is going to come up with what they think is the best way to live your life, but they can never really say, I know I'm right. Because it's like, well, he's got his good logical arguments, he's got his good logical arguments, so it's all completely relative. And then you've got this last group, who, by the way, I believe is most of the world. I'm just getting on with it. It's like, just leave me alone, stop it, you philosophy student. I've heard this a lot in my life. Like, just leave me alone. I'm a nice guy, I give some charity, I have dinner parties, I play some sport. I'm nice. Which is totally fine, by the way. By the way, none of this is a value judgment, ever. You're not a good or bad person if you do or don't do these things. Just, are you living what you're meant to be living? But even these guys, although they haven't particularly thought out their philosophy of life, they do live with certain values and goals. They believe in God, don't believe in God, but they're still playing the game. Maybe less consciously, but they're still playing the game of life. And for these people, it's important in terms of their principles and morality and maybe happiness and success in life. But yes, correct, there is no real consequence if you don't follow it. So if you're a communist atheist, but really, well, I don't even know, a capitalist atheist, it doesn't matter, you're going to die, there's no real consequence to your life. Fine. So this is everyone in the world, atheist, Buddhist, Jew, Christian, everyone is playing the game. They are playing the game. What they believe the goal is, these guys believe the goal is whatever they come up with through their human understanding. And these guys believe the goal is there's a spiritual truth that they've managed to tap into somehow. And these guys believe, no, there's an objective, this is the truth that God created the world for. But they're all playing the same. They're all playing the game. So we've got to work out where are we? Where are we? What are we living? How are we living? Why? I noticed, though, to make it a bit easier, but not so much easier, the most basic general goal that everyone across the board would agree to. Everyone, I would say everyone in this whole list would agree to the purpose of life. 2 things. There are 2 things that all of them would say we are living for now that we're here. What do you think they are? These are very general, generic purpose of life. What are you meant to achieve? What's success based on? I lived a successful life. Pardon? Happiness, maybe. Most people would say, by the way, happiness is not the goal. Happiness is the result of achieving success in the goal. It comes from... What's the purpose of life? Come on, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? Okay, impacting the world and finding the truth. But what is the truth? You weren't here to find the truth. You're here to live the truth, which takes finding the truth first, which you're going to do this week. So and then you've got to work out how to live it. What's the 2 purposes of life? Now that you're here, it basically makes sense that you've got to do these 2 things. And this is what it means to be successful. In our society, success means what car you drive and what your body looks like. Not in my society. In that society. That's not called success. No one here really. Well, maybe someone in this, by the way, a hedonist or a capitalist might say, really, your success in life is getting as much money as you can and having as much physical pleasure as you can. Could be saying that. In general, the two purposes of life. What are you here? Now you're here. What are you doing? Go. Put it in a few different ways. Be good and do good. Improve yourself and improve the world. Live by the right values. Do the right thing. Growth and contribution. It's all the same.
What is good?
That's where we're going to go. Thank you.
That's different to whatever they believe in.
Good. So now you got guys. You're on the next slide. Let's just stay with my slide. Stop being so Jewish. Just stick with me here. Everyone would agree that now you're here. Your purpose is. It makes sense that once you are here, you should develop yourself into becoming the greatest self you can, and you should help other people. An atheist would say that. A Buddhist would say that. Everyone would say, all you have to do, and by the way, you know this because when someone dies, what do you say about them at their funeral? How much they were a good person and how much they helped other people. We know that success is based on these two things. By the way, this is how you're going to make all the decisions in your life. Which of these three decisions is going to help me grow the most and help me have most impact on the world? The alarm goes off in the morning, you could get up and go for a run or turn over, go back to sleep. Well, which one is going to propel you towards these two factors? Usually, by the way, sorry to tell you, it's the one that takes more effort. It is. It is. You don't grow, you don't achieve things without putting in effort. Do good and be good. Awesome. Now you guys know the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to become, in Judaism we would call it tikkun hamidot, fixing yourself, your character traits, and tikkun olam, fixing the world. Fixing yourself, fix the world. Growth and contribution. Even Tony Robbins, anyone know Tony Robbins? He's like the world's number one life coach. Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins. He says there are 6 main human needs that motivate everything we do. The need for certainty, the need for variation, the need for love and connection, the need for significance. But then there are the top 2 highest needs, growth and contribution. So everyone says it. We are here, and you feel happy when you're growing and contributing. Feel happy when you're growing and contributing. Grow, 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 grow. Work on your character traits. Contribute, contribute, contribute. Great. So that is the purpose of life. Meaningful. What makes your life meaningful then? What does meaningful mean? What makes something meaningful?
Meaning, purpose.
Inasmuch as something is in line with and taking you towards the purpose, it is called meaningful. Super Bowl. How meaningful is the Super Bowl? To the extent that maybe you have showed loyalty to your team. A little bit, because loyalty is working on yourself a bit. If you're in the team, it means you have to have discipline and training and teamwork. It means it's building your parnasa to feed your family. You could use the money from being a sports person to set up camps, sports camps for vulnerable children, but it's only as meaningful as how it's tapping into growing and contributing. How meaningful is going to work in McDonald's? To the extent that it's helping feed your family and it's making you humble, 100%. How meaningful is... everything in your life you can ask, how meaningful is what I'm doing? And by the way, I'm sorry to tell you, not you guys in this room, but most people have very little meaning in their life. If you say to many people, what are you passionate about? What are you really passionate about? A, they don't really know, or B, it's sport. My football team, what are you putting your time, money and effort into? My football team. I come home from work and I turn on the TV, I check the scores all the time, I get upset when we lose, I get happy when we win. I spend my money on tickets, I go to bed thinking about the team and if we're going to win. It means you're investing your whole time in something completely meaningless. Almost completely meaningless. Once again, I like sport and I like watching sport. If you watch sport and have a beer with your friend and watch sport to just chill out after a hard day of work, and so you can get back and go to work, and that actually makes watching the sport meaningful. So having a rest and chilling out and having beer with your friend becomes meaningful if it's going towards, I need this so that I can get back and start learning and growing again and contributing. But sitting there in front of a screen, watching Netflix for 3 hours a day, repeats of Friends. I think Friends is very funny. It's completely meaningless. Completely meaningless. And unfortunately, there are many people who live their lives almost completely meaninglessly. But then, that when they give tzedakah, when they go and visit their grandparents, when they anything that is to do with personal growth and contributing, helping other people, that becomes meaningful. So you want to make sure you're living your life as much as your life every single day meaningfully. And by the way, living a meaningful life attached to purpose is going to make you feel happy. That is what happiness is. I'm connected to the person I'm living with, even if it's difficult. Even if it's difficult. So happiness is the result of living a meaningful life. Are there any questions at this point? Yes, please.
This is from part of a lecture I heard of Dr. Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
He's a psychologist in Canada and America. He's popular on YouTube. He was saying once that sometimes, though, trying to put too much meaning in life in the sense of like always thinking very deeply of every single thing you do is too much. It's too taxing psychologically. That there's that benefit to being part of a virtuous society where majority of the decisions you make, doesn't need to take 100% of your effort, so that you have most of your effort to actually.
Awesome. I agree. So it's good to put yourself into a system of values and beliefs and practices where it's been worked out what's meaningful first, so you don't have to spend all the time trying to work it out, and you can just spend your time living it joyfully and consciously. Halacha, Torah. So now here we go. Here's the answer to your next question. Gandhi, one of the greatest sages, said this. He was asked, "Are you a Hindu?" And Gandhi replied, "Yes, I am. I'm also a Muslim, a Christian, a Buddhist, and a Jew." This is so touching, and it's such a universal, beautiful, wonderful, sweet, loving, caring, sentimental, beautiful, completely illogical statement. Now, I'm sure he didn't mean it literally, and he was just trying to give over the message that, come on, we're all trying to live humanity, do good, be good, but really, a Christian means that I believe certain things, and a Buddhist means I believe certain things, and they're almost exactly opposite. So you cannot be a Christian and a Buddhist. And unless there's something I don't know about his mother, he's definitely not a Jew. I tell you that much. He's not a Jew. So your question was, we're going back to the last slide, 2 slides ago. Everyone agrees you have to reach your ultimate potential, and you have to help the world. The disagreement is, how do you do that? So Buddha would say you have to reach your ultimate potential, but how do you do that? By sitting in a cave and meditating and realizing you don't have a soul. And it's called anatta. And a Christian would say you can only reach your ultimate potential by worshipping a certain rabbi and taking him into your heart, who died for our sins. Baruch Hashem. And, so each of them would say, we agree what the goal is, but the rules and the method and the tactics and how you get there is different. What does it mean to be a tzaddik? What does it mean to be enlightened? So now we have to ask ourselves, okay, everyone agrees that we got the same goal, but we don't agree on the path to get to that goal. And we don't really even agree on the definition of good. What is good? Pro-abortion, anti-abortion. Is that good? Which one's good? Which one's bad? When can you do it? When can't you do it? By the way, if there's no objective reality, then there's no answer to that. You can have that debate for the rest of your life. There's not going to be an answer. There's no external... What's the word I'm looking for? External measure. All right. A quick word on objective truth for you. There are two types of truth. One is called subjective truth. Subjective truth is a matter of opinion and there is no right answer. There is no right answer. For example, red is the best color. Is that true or false? Yes or no? Don't matter. Like, there isn't a true or false. Unless God writes in the Torah, red is the best color, which he didn't, then that is not true or false. Paris is the most beautiful city. There's no true or false. You might think it is. It's just a matter of opinion, how you feel. Now, there are other things in the universe that are objectively true. It's a reality and it doesn't depend on whether you believe it or not. It is a true or false thing. There is no third option. It's true or false. For example, physical. And I put easy to verify. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Dov bear lives in Israel. That's either true or false. It is true. Dov bear has a beard. Dov bear has a beard. True. Thanks. Paris is the capital of France. True. How about this? Dov bear's dad has a beard. So it's not actually subjective. It's still objective. You just don't know which it is. It's either true or false. He has a beard, or he doesn't have a beard. You just don't know which one it is. And it doesn't matter what you believe. If everyone in the room and everyone in the world believes my dad has a beard, but he doesn't, it's not going to make him have a beard. So it's got nothing to do with what you believe. There is a truth. My father doesn't have a beard at the moment. Great. I'm going to actually even get there. I thought about that. How about this? Now we've got spiritual objective truths. Less easy to verify. Watch this. Dov bear has a soul. Dov bear has a soul. True or false? Well, people... It's not subjective. It's you don't know and I can't necessarily just show you, but I either do or I don't.
Why?
Because a soul
Because
is...
you believe you do.
No. A soul is an objective reality. Okay, so now we're going to get it. How do you know you're right? We're not there yet. But it's an objective reality. Just because you can't see it, the same way as a beard is an objective reality, a soul, you're right. You have to define what we mean. Once we've defined a soul, you either have one or you don't have one. A soul isn't something that if you believe in it, it appears, and if you don't, it doesn't. Unless we've got a different definition of what a soul is. But for now, we're going to...
Which means it could be subjective.
Good, so we're going to get to that soon. Good question. Very Jewish. God exists or God doesn't exist? How we define... No, it depends who you ask. You might believe he does or you believe he doesn't, but he either does or he doesn't. How about this? I've got a piano in my house. Depends who you ask. Some will say I don't, some will say I do. One of those two people are wrong. I either do or I don't. Once we've defined God, let's say God is... I'm going to define God. What's this? God is the conscious creator of the whole universe. The conscious creator of the whole universe. There was a conscious creator who says, let there be light, go. Okay? I'm defining God. Once I've defined God, that thing either exists or it doesn't. I say it does, you say it doesn't. All that means is one of us is right, one of us is wrong. But it doesn't change if there is a conscious creator of the universe. There's a conscious creator of the universe. That's a statement. Is it true or false? Okay, we can debate it, but it is either true or false. It's not bad.
I'd agree.
Thank you.
Both subject and proof are not dependent on proof.
Not dependent on proof at all. But which one you believe, why you believe which one, you need proof, you need evidence. Why do I believe in God or not believe in God? It has to be based on evidence. That's where the evidence comes in. But these are statements. Not kosher food is spiritually bad for you, whatever that means. How can it be? That's either true or it's not true. Eating pig is detrimental to your spiritual state. Can I prove it? Okay, we'll ask that question later. But for now, to talk about objective truth, either eating pig is not bad for you, or it is bad for you. It doesn't matter what you believe. It either is or it isn't. It doesn't become bad for you if you believe it's bad for you and become not bad for you. It either is or it isn't. So our question in life, well thought out life, is take all the statements that you believe and ask, are they true or false? Watch this. I just played a little game because I thought it would be a bit intense at this point. So watch. Does he have a beard? Or he has a beard game. Watch this. True. He has a beard. True or false?
Oh, he is.
Oh.
Oh my God.
What about this guy? He has a beard. True or false? He doesn't have a beard. Okay, what about this guy? Beard. True or false? What do you think? Who thinks he does? Who thinks he doesn't? Exactly. You don't really care because you can't know. Maybe you could if I got the whole picture. But does he have a beard or not is a true or false. He either does or he doesn't. It doesn't matter what you believe. Just because you don't know it and you can't see it doesn't mean it becomes a subjective truth. It's still an objective truth. He has a beard or he doesn't have a beard. Finished. And you've got to look at the evidence then. You could get scientists who could see by that wrinkle that he must have a whatever, but then you could look at the evidence to see. What about this guy? Does he have a beard? Yes or no? Yes? Anyone say no?
No. What's a beard? It's facial hair.
Yeah, that's stubble beard. So now, the debate isn't whether he has a beard or not, it's the definition of a beard. But it's still an objective truth. You're now arguing not whether this guy has a beard or not, you're arguing what's the definition of a beard, you see? Yeah, very excited. So once you come to a joint definition, this is what a beard is, then you can say he has a beard or not. So I don't think that's a beard. I want to say this. Fine. So the next step, my friends, and this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. What do they believe? What do all these paths believe? And maybe the day after, which, if any, is true? Because they are either all not true or one of them is true. But definitely not all of them are true. They can't all be true. So only one of them or none of them is true, and that's what we're going to be looking into this week. You know, what do we believe? And mainly I'm going to be focusing on what Jewish philosophy and Kabbalah teaches is the purpose of life. And how you live it.
It's true for each person, each kind of.
Thank you. Good. Finish.
Is that a drop down menu?